My fellow Americans.
Take the red pill.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
The disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
All we have built, all we have worked for, would be destroyed.
There is nothing the political establishment will not do.
And this nation will not be fully free until all its citizens are free.
Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action,
These criminals cannot be rewarded.
so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction.
There is a point beyond which they must not advance.
They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. Here I am.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
The cost of freedom is always high.
Those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
This is a crusade! This is a holy war against the deep state!
We never wanted to be right, but yet things are all adding up to the firestorm.
This song is supposed to be sung with like anger, but I don't really have any anger. So this is the passive aggressive version. You could say this is the British version. The Eastern world, it is exploding. Violence flaring and bullets loading. They're old enough to kill, but not for voting. You don't believe in war, but what's that gun you're toting? And even the Jordan River has bodies floating. But you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, how you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Don't you understand what I'm trying to say? Can't you feel the fear that I'm feeling today? If the button is pushed, there's no running away. There'll be no one to save with the world in a grave. Take a look around you, boy. It's bound to scare you, boy. But you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, how you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Well, my blood's so mad, feels like coagulating, and I'm sitting here just contemplating. You can't twist the truth, it knows no regulation, and a handful of senators don't pass legislation, and the marches alone can't bring integration when human respect is disintegrating, and this whole crazy world is just too frustrating. But you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, how you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Well, think of all the hate there is in Red China, then take a look around to Selma, Alabama, and you may leave here for 4 days in space, but when you return, it's the same old place. The pounding of the drum, the pride and the disgrace. You can bury it dead, but don't leave a trace. Hate your next door neighbor, but don't forget to say grace. But you tell me over and over and over and over again, my friend, how
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is where we bring you that unfolding global conspiracy. And a conspiracy it is. That right there was a cover by Frank Watkinson. You can find him on YouTube. Just look up Frank Watkinson, and that's Watkinson. And you can just search for Eva Destruction Barry Maguire cover. And you'll find that. I love playing a lot of the great songs with people doing their own renditions. And Frank there does a fantastic version of that song. And if you didn't guess it, tonight's title of our show is Eve of Destruction. Now, there's a few reasons why I titled the show this tonight. No, I'm not going to be the bearer of doom and gloom tonight. But I truly want people to see things the way that I'm perceiving them in the world of how everything is unfolding. There hasn't been a time in this world since probably the Cuban Missile Crisis that we've been this close to nuclear war. And that's a very, very real statement. I want truly everybody to understand that that is a very, very real statement. For the last 4 years, I talked about how they will never give up power. They will scorch the earth before they ever do. Well, guess what? They will. They will instigate it and they will follow through with it. Because here's the thing. These are sociopaths. These people are pure evil. They care not for life or you or any of this shit. They will destroy this whole world and take you with it. Just so they don't hang. Just so that they don't get prosecuted. Just so their secrets, their corruption, and their lies don't come forth. They took a shot at Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And by the grace of God, they missed. That was the shot heard around the world. But since that day, everything has taken a turn, a transition. We know that because Donald Trump won the election. And now we are sitting here 60 days out from Inauguration Day on the brink of nuclear war. Because the Obama-led deep state, which is in control of the Biden-Harris administration, has decided to play their card. Now, I'm going to talk about this because I think that this is a very, very important topic to talk about tonight. If you've been on X today, if you're not on X, if you left during the Great Purge, I recommend getting back on there. X is actually really cool. I think it's pretty badass. But that's where I do most of my posting. Yes, I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to post on all my platforms. I'll just post on one and then transition it over to all the other platforms. But for now, follow me on X. It's at Real Joshua Reed. I think I got it here somewhere. Yeah. Anyways, 12-hour news recap. Let's discuss this, and then we're going to get into what happened, why it happened, what is happening, people's responses to what happened. And I think that that's an important one because there's a lot of comments going back and forth pertaining to General Michael Flynn and his comments and things that he made on the Alex Jones show, comments that he made on the Alex Jones show. Now, for everybody out there, next week, next Tuesday, I'm going to have General Flynn on the show. So next Tuesday, myself and Alpha Warrior will be interviewing General Michael Flynn on the Daily Dose and the Alpha Warrior show doing a simulcast. And yes, I'm going to ask him these questions because I think that these are questions that deserve to be answered. Now, I know how certain people feel about General Michael Flynn, and you all have your own opinion on that. I have my opinion on it. Mine is based, I will tell you, mine is based on substantial research. In the context of General Michael Flynn, a lot of people out there try to tell me, oh, go look at Mike Gill's research and his claims of how they paid him off or they offered him $40 million or something. Or Charles Flynn is the one that delayed the J6, the National Guard to impose on J6 on J6 and, Russian collusion. He's the one that said Donald Trump. Here's the thing. If all these people who made these claims, I've asked for the evidence. I've asked for the evidence. Responded directly to Mike Gill. He said, I have the text messages. And I said, release them. Show me. Instead, he shows a text message of Melissa, Flynn's assistant, saying that Flynn will call him. I said, send the text message that you're saying that is incriminating. And what did he do? He blocked me. Why? Just release the evidence. Show the proof, the substantiation. So I'm one of those people that looks really, really deep into things. I have my own opinion on the matter. And my opinion is based upon what we know of occurred. So if you have evidence, send it to me. That's all I have to say. But I'm going to go into his response to all of this. And by the way, that's no means like, oh my God, Josh, I hate you, right? Like, come on. Let's be realistic here, people. We're patriots. We're fighting a battle against good and evil. We are trying to save this country. We are at that last cusp. We're almost there. And we knew that this was going to come. We knew that they were going to organize a firestorm. We knew that they were going to come out with some type of major global event that was going to initiate, was going to act as a catalyst to begin the process to take down the United States of America, because that is their last failsafe. 12-hour news recap. Putin signed Russia's new nuclear doctrine into law. It gives them the right to launch nuclear strikes on countries that threaten their sovereignty with significant ballistic missile attacks. It also authorizes them to launch strikes on countries that supply the weapons, such as the United States. Ukraine launched its first ATACMS missiles attacks on Russia, hitting an ammo depot 77 miles from the border in Bryansk. The attack followed Biden's earlier approval for long-range missile strikes on Russia with U.S.-supplied weapons. Not good. Macron followed in Biden's footsteps, giving Ukraine permission for long-range missile strikes on Russia with the Scalp cruise missiles they gave them. A Romanian court has ordered the removal of evidence in Andrew Tate's human trafficking case. I don't care about that right now. We're going to go through a few other things. U.S. Special Envoy Amos Hochstein arrived in Beirut to discuss a proposed truce between Hezbollah and Israel. There are significant gaps between both sides and cast doubt on whether the agreement can be reached. Zelensky, addressing the EU Parliament, said that Europe had come together to stand up to Putin and encourage them to continue their support for Ukraine. Russia announced it had begun mass production of mobile bomb shelters that can protect against a variety of man-made threats and natural disasters, including nuclear bombs. And then, obviously, SpaceX had their successful launch today. Now, Joe Biden, just last week, came out and in a very low voice at the G20 summit with sunglasses on, I don't even think it looked like Joe Biden, announced that he was giving permission for Ukraine to utilize the ATACMS missile system against Russia. These are long-range ballistic missiles, have about an approximate range of 170 to 210 miles, and they are strategically targeted. Zelensky came out later that day or later yesterday and said that they are not going to mention the name or the time when this is going to happen, but it will happen. And not even just a few hours later, it happened. Go figure. Now, there's one post here, and I'll share this with you. This is from SG and on X. Let's be clear. Ukraine did not attack Russia with U.S. ATACMS missiles yesterday. The missile system requires periodic course correction and continual in-flight monitoring, inputted by manual operators with the U.S. national security access codes. Does anyone think we are just giving these codes to Ukraine? No, he's right. The ATACMS missiles use geospatial and weather monitoring technology to self-regulate itself during flight time, including minor flight path alterations, orientation changes, altitude changes, etc. This requires the missile system to maintain continuous uplink to U.S. targeting systems and NATO satellite-based guidance and recon systems. The ATACMS launch procedure requires the entry of classified U.S. missile launch codes. Again, does anyone think the U.S. is just going to give these codes to Ukrainian operators? No. Ukraine has already admitted they are not trained on these systems. And the Ukraine did not attack Russia last night. The U.S. did. And that is truth. Now, 6 missiles were fired at Russia. five of them were intercepted by Russia. One of them hit just outside an arms depot, but did not hit its target. That's actually a really good thing. We are very lucky that Russia has a highly advanced missile defense system that was active. Because if 6 of those missiles actually hit their targets, we would probably be in all-out world war right now. The fact that 5 of those missiles missed and 1 did really no damage and there was no casualties is a very, very good thing. So Joe Biden comes out and states that he gives permission to Ukraine to do this. This is a lame duck president. This is an outgoing president. He's supposed to provide for a peaceful transition to Donald Trump and his administration, which this move is an absolute move in the opposite direction. I don't think Joe Biden made this decision. I think that this decision was put in place by the Obama deep state. I don't know what they had on Joe Biden, how they pressured him or pressed him, but I don't think that Joe Biden came out and made this decision. The reason I say that is because of everything we've seen the last 6 months. Congressman Keith Shelf of Texas has drafted articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. The congressman said he is waiting for a brief of requested information to the executive branch pertaining to exactly the direction Joe Biden gave Ukraine, of which potentially can be an impeachable offense. Now, General Michael Flynn came out on X earlier today and gave his opinion on the matter. And his words really sparked a lot of concern amongst many different people. I'm going to read to you General Flynn's X post because I think it's important, but then he also has a Substack that goes along with it. And that's truly important to understand the context of what he's saying. He said the last 24 hours, Ukraine fired ATACMS into Russian territory, a clear escalation of war. So what? Number 1, Harris should immediately invoke, Kamala Harris should immediately invoke the 25th Amendment and remove Biden. He's sleepwalking us into World War III. Let's at least put the constitutional pressure on Harris because Joe's poor memory make him unaccountable to consequences. The current House of Representatives must impeach Biden for endangering the United States. Hell, Trump was impeached for losing the 2020 election. Incoming U.S. officials must make contact with Putin to de-escalate the situation. Trump administration, especially incoming Attorney General Matt Gaetz, needs to make it clear that the identities of the deep state operatives pulling the strings of the presidency, urging Biden to act recklessly. Pray that we make it to January 20th. The voters spoke. Trump's mandate to end the killing and seek peace needs to be America's path. And then he says that he'll provide more on this later. General Flynn then went ahead and said, here's a more extensive analysis of the summary above. Something has to be done immediately, and cooler heads must prevail. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read to you a little bit of what he said in this Substack post, because it is important to extrapolate what he said there. And I'm only going to focus on one part here. He goes, the summaries of the problems. Here is what needs to be done now. He says, first, Vice President Harris and the Biden cabinet must invoke the 25th Amendment and remove Biden as president. When I saw this, I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? That would put Harris in there. And then the Obama deep state is just going to seize power. But he's got a twist to this. And so listen here. Biden is sleepwalking us in the hot war with Russia without a congressional declaration of war. True. If he lives past January 20th, interesting indication there, Biden will take the position he took with special counsel Hur, who 9 months ago declared Biden could not be held responsible for crimes. Very important there, as he was an old man with a poor memory. It's past the time to put Kamala in the Oval Office. And what he's saying is to truly replace Joe Biden because of this fact. Then we will know the name of the person in charge, someone who is actually elected to office, and she would be a person who could be held accountable for the disaster that might befall the nation. Bearing that type of responsibility might force Harris to actually act responsibly. No longer would decisions made by unknown and unidentified deep state operatives who would scatter like roaches should a crisis occur. He's got a very good point there. So I will stand on that he absolutely has a very, very good point there. That when we start looking at this from the perspective of the burden of responsibility, putting Harris in this position right now on the brink of nuclear war, this could actually change the tides. Now, listen to what I'm going to say. I'm not agreeing with General Michael Flynn. I'm actually disagreeing with him. I said, this is what I posted on X. General Flynn explains his position to remove Biden and rise up Kamala in his Substack, which brings a level of logic. Although I disagree, he makes a great point on the burden of responsibility. Biden is a shadow figure being controlled by outside forces. He has complete immunity of responsibility from ushering the U.S. into a war with Russia. Considering his mental state and basically the fact that he most likely won't be around much longer in life due to age and health, he is the ultimate patsy for the deep state. Kamala, on the other hand, is absolutely a deep state actor, a controlled asset, but would have to face the burden of responsibility for her actions if she pursued war with Russia for the short time she would be in office. Flynn says, and she would be a person who could be held accountable for what disaster might befall the nation, being the type of responsibility might force Harris to act responsibly. The burden might very well shift her decisions to act in her best interest and not best interest of the deep state. Very true. There's a good possibility that could happen. It is possible that this scenario would work, and it is the right rational and logical thought from a normie's perspective. Although we're not normies, are we? Although, in my perspective, the deep state is desperate and on life support. They cannot delay action due to a change of heart from Kamala. They would force the hand either way, whether it was Joe or Kamala. That's the fucking truth. That is absolutely the truth right there. As well, there is also the threat that this is the deep state's plan to instigate the war with Russia and then declare a state of war, which would bring about certain war powers to the executive. So it doesn't matter if it's Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. They instigate a state of war, nukes are exchanged, war happens, and they institute the War Powers Act. In the event of a nuclear exchange, these powers could be used to seize the power of the government, instituting continuity of government scenario and delaying indefinitely the inauguration, therefore bringing about a legal coup. From this point, it would also give the executive branch and the mainstream media the ability to seize members of Congress that they blame to be agents of Russia. That rhetoric has been present in the news for the last 8 years. This is an incredible volatile situation, and there's no real clear solution, except for maybe one. And this is where it gets important for you to really, truly pay attention. If Russia responds eye to eye, tit for tat, then this will not escalate. If NATO and the West bring about a preemptive strike against Russia, here's the thing. Zelensky fired these 6 missiles. It wasn't Zelensky, it was the U.S. It's going to happen again. They are going to launch more missiles into Russia. They're going to get as close to the border as possible, and they're going to launch them as fast as possible into Russia, and they're going to try to hit energy reserves. They're going to try to hit resources. They're going to try to hit strategic military bases. If that happens, this is where this scenario comes into play. If NATO and the West bring about a preemptive strike on Russia, what I just said, or instigate Ukraine to strike deeper and more critical assets to Russia, then it would be ultimately up to Putin. It's up to Putin, not Joe Biden or Kamala or any of them. It's up to Putin. Putin's response to the West is the key variable at play here. He can choose the diplomatic role. Knowing Trump is coming into power soon gives him the option of a limited conflict and the ability to tie it up in diplomatic channels. Or he can respond militarily, which would give the deep state exactly what they wanted. Putin is smarter than that. He won't deliver the New World Order to them on a silver platter. He will choose the diplomatic route. Now think about this here. We know that the globalists, the international global order, the deep state, they have one move left. They have one play, and that is to usher the whole world into chaos. And the catalyst event that they're utilizing for that is the war with Russia. Last night, we learned that the undersea cable was cut between Finland and Germany. Today, we learned another one was cut. I said that they're going to blame this on Russia. Germany came out today and claimed that this was military sabotage, hybrid warfare. Now we're learning that it was a Chinese ship that apparently went right over the cable at the same exact time that it was disconnected. I bet you they'll find Russians on board that ship because the Finland Navy has already intercepted that ship. That'll probably come out in the next few days. See, what NATO's trying to do is they're trying to build a case against Russia. They're trying to give probable cause to utilize strikes inside of Russia to take out military assets in Russia to instigate a larger war. Why? Because of the rhetoric of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin has been very staunch in the sense of what he said. This is my red line, do not cross it. This is my red line, do not cross it. I changed laws, do not cross it. Well, guess what? The U.S. at NATO have crossed that red line more than 10 times in the last 4 years. F-16s to Ukraine, various different types of advanced missile and defense systems, munitions, everything. They've done that. They've crossed Putin's red line, and Putin did nothing. Putin understands the global consequences of utilizing a nuke in Kyiv, in Ukraine, bombing a NATO nation, going after the United States of America. Putin would only do that if there was the risk of preemptive nuclear strikes in Russia. He's even said this before. So what do we take on Putin's rhetoric over the last few days that, if you use ballistic missiles inside of Russia, we're going to look at that as a threat and we're going to bomb the people who gave them to you. France, Germany, the UK are all preparing for war right now. My thoughts on what's going to happen next. Zelensky is going to fire more missiles inside Russia. Eventually, he's going to hit a target that's going to be very, very important. Putin is going to respond with a barrage of hypersonic missiles. Number one, taking out the ATEM's missile systems that the U.S. has presented to them, taking out the shadow missile systems that France and Germany and the UK have presented to them. So you'll see the offensive missile systems being taken out first by hypersonic missiles. The second thing that Putin will do is he will use a Moab on Kyiv. He will seek to end the life of Zelensky and his regime because that is game, set, match right there. It ends it right there. That will spark a cultural revolution in Ukraine calling for political change. You got to remember, they still haven't had elections. Zelensky seized the parliament in Ukraine. He arrested all the dissenters who opposed him and were Russian apologists. Similar to what I just explained could happen here in the United States if they rise Kamala up to power or if a war declaration is used and the War Powers Act becomes enacted. So Putin understands this whole scope that we're talking about. Now, he knows that if he just strategically strikes Ukraine in response, NATO has no reason to strike Russia in defense. They will try to extrapolate a reason for preemptive strikes, saying that, he just took out Kyiv, he's going to come for Poland next. Although there's been no indication from Russia that they care about that. Belarus has already moved troops to the border anyways, and it seems that that conflict between Belarus and Poland could actually happen. I think what we're seeing right now is Vladimir Putin acting, playing optics. He's baiting the New World Order. He's baiting the deep state. He's baiting NATO. He's giving them the last out. He knows that they are on their backs, that they are fighting from their back end. He knows that they are being systematically destroyed. He understands that the Western New World Order, that the U.S. deep state, that the international global cabal, that is Europe, He knows that they just lost control of the United States of America, and they will do anything to get that control back. You're talking trillions upon trillions of dollars each year at risk for these people. So what Putin's doing is presenting a scenario to draw them in. It's a strategy to draw in NATO. I think Putin wants NATO to strike Russia with a preemptive strike, which kind of just happened. But as long as it's Ukraine that's saying that they're doing it, Russia will just respond tit for tat in Ukraine. The moment NATO does it themselves, launches from France, Germany, so on and so forth, into Russia, that is an act of war by NATO nations into Russia. This is where it will get interesting. Because my thoughts are that Russia will immediately go to the United Nations Security Council, who China's on their side, and say, why is NATO attacking our country? We have the right to self-defense, but we are not going to react until this is discussed through diplomatic channels. Putin, Xi Jinping will stand up. Everybody will be posturing. It'll be like a Cuban Missile Crisis. But here's the thing. NATO will only do 1 or 2 strikes, and then they're going to wait for Russia to respond, because that's what the rhetoric Putin has been putting out there. Putin's not going to respond militarily. He's going to respond diplomatically. He's going to go to the UN Security Council. He's going to stand up and he's going to go, what the hell is going on? Why is NATO attacking us? This is an act of war, which means that NATO, the NATO nations that attack Russia, will be in violation of United Nations Charter. That's not good. You're right. NATO loses anyway. They would be in violation of their NATO of their United Nations Charter. Okay? At that point, ceasefire would be declared by the UN Security Council, because there would be no other means to go forward at that point. If NATO begins to strike Russia again after that point, you're going to have an all-out world war with China and everybody else, and it's going to get hot and heavy, and the United Nations will be disbanded. And see, they can't have that. But see, if Putin went the diplomatic route, this would tie it up at the United Nations through negotiations, through talks, through diplomacy for 2 months. Holding that off until January 20th. And see, the thing is if NATO decided to make that strike on Russia, that's their one chance, their one opportunity. After that, there is no turning back. But after that, there's no second strike. If Putin doesn't respond to that first strike militarily, they lost. It's over. Checkmate. I hope we don't get to this point to where all of this happens, but that is the most likely scenario that we can see coming about in the next few days, few weeks, so on and so forth. And I hope that made sense for everybody out there. Now, if they come out and blame Russia for the cutting of the cables, this is going to be nothing more than a Nord Stream 2.0. And it'll all begin to flow out. Remember, NATO has been trying to bait Russia for the last 4 years into war. Nord Stream, you had the German undersea cable back 2 years ago that was cut. And immediately they tried to blame Russia, and Russia said, it wasn't us. No assets. And we knew it was Ukraine. We knew it was the United States. So it is quite scary. And I hope it makes sense. But the one variable at play here that can stop all of this from happening is Vladimir Putin. Now, if we trust the plan, we know Donald Trump on his world tour made deals. 2018 in Helsinki, Trump and Putin met. I believe they came up with a plan to take down the deep state, to take down the globalist regime. What was that plan? Allow the BRICS nations to rise up economically against the West. Begin their de-dollarization process. Constrict oil reserves, sales to the U.S. Remove the dollar off of oil. Make it no longer an oil-based currency. As well as begin the process of creating military partnerships with U.S. allies. Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. Makes sense? And this is exactly what BRICS has done. They've fortified their position as a global power, which weakens the Western hegemony as well as the Western economy and NATO primarily. So if this plan was true, then we are watching a 12-year plan unravel into the final scenes of where we're watching the systematic destruction of the old guard, and I believe we truly are. So you know what? The show might be named Eve of Destruction. It's a possibility. Here's the doom and gloom for you. It's a possibility, people. It's a possibility that in the next few hours, Ukraine launches the ATOMS missile system into Russia. They hit strategic military and infrastructure targets. Russia responds with hypersonic missile barrages back into Ukraine. Ukraine responds back. Russia uses a tactical nuke. And then it's off to the races. And that's it. It's over. Although that's a potential consequence of what's going on right now, I think it's a highly unlikely consequence. I think it's a highly unlikely scenario. Number one, because Putin is not a dumb guy. He's way smarter than that. Putin will only utilize nuclear weapons if the threat of nuclear weapons are used against Russia. What he is doing right now is baiting the deep state. He is baiting NATO, and they are taking the bait. That's the other thing you have to understand. They're taking the bait because they're desperate. Never interfere with your enemy while they're in the process of destroying themselves. That's what we're seeing. Think about it. We went into the 2024 election. Donald Trump baited Barack Obama, baited the Harris campaign, baited Joe Biden. He baited everything up to the election. Bring it. He went into the Joe Biden debate, accepted the rules 100%, went in there with two highly biased moderators. Why? Because he knew. Because he knew that Joe Biden would not be able to get up there and intelligently speak. He knew that he could get the Joe Biden inside of his head to where Joe Biden would capitulate to him out of fear that the deep state would retaliate against him and coup him, which they did. He got his play, getting Kamala endorsed, which was not supposed to happen. It was supposed to be an open convention. And then all he had to do from there is tell the truth. All he had to do from there is tell the truth. Tell the truth about Kamala Harris in the last 4 years, because they knew that Kamala Harris is inept, that she would not be able to talk policy, that she would not be able to talk coherently about matters of what's happening in this country economically, socially, culturally, that she would only focus on 2 to 3 things primarily. And that number one thing was abortion, which the majority of the people in this country really don't give a shit about. Trump baited them. Putin's baiting them. And if we are correct, then the next moves that we're going to see is the fall of the cabal. The next moves that we will see is them playing their hand and missing again. You got to remember, future proves the past. We know their next moves. We have their playbook. We know how they operate. We understand what they're trying to do. So all of this stuff is kind of the same here. Now, this was another thought that Alpha Warrior and I talked about earlier today. Steve Carello, I agree. He's absolutely got some great insights on it. Colonel Douglas McGregor as well. Psy war and unconventional wartime strategy. What we know, Democrats, deep state globalists are desperate. A week ago, it was proposed by former communications director for the Harris campaign that Joe Biden should step down and allow Kamala to take over the rest of his term. We know Joe Biden sold out the deep state to some degree. This begs the question, what just happened? The Obama deep state needs to take power and control over the country before January 20th. The only way to ensure that is with either war powers or national emergency or by a progressive coup. In other words, they need to install Kamala. So here it is. Was this escalation with Russia by Biden and Ukraine a setup for the deep state to begin the 25th Amendment and seize power before the new year? Will we see an escalation response from Harris and other Democrats, then a pointing of the finger to blame at Joe? Discussions about cognitive decline and his incapacity to lead, then the invoking of the 25th Amendment at the same time, de-escalating the Russian response? This would make Harris look like a diplomat and give her the power to the executive, which then could bring about the next part. So see, there's many ways to look at what's happening here. So Putin has released various different videos of what it would look like if Russia were to strike European nations. And basically, it's a fuck around and find out type of moment for Europe. Europe is absolutely done. If war engages with Russia and Europe is fucked. The United States of America at its current military capacity maybe has the ability to protect and monitor about 5 to 7% of the European nations. We would get our asses kicked in the European theater right now. So Russians Medvedev came out today and said this: Russia's new nuclear doctrine means NATO missiles fired against our country could be deemed an attack by the bloc on Russia. Russia could retaliate with weapons of mass destruction against Kyiv and other key NATO facilities wherever they're located. That means World War III. That came from the Prime Minister of Russia, who just said that. I'm almost positive, though, that the incoming Trump administration and probably Donald Trump have already reached out to Vladimir Putin in Russia, are already talking. So then, after all of this shit that's going on today, Joe Biden approves $275 million weapons package for Ukraine after the missile strikes and the nuclear doctrine shift. The Biden administration is set to announce $275 million weapon package for Ukraine, including the HIMARS systems, drones, and Javelin missiles. This aid will be drawn from U.S. stockpiles, expediting delivery to Ukrainian forces. Russia state television showing how countries in Europe that will be hit by nuclear weapons if the war in Ukraine intensifies. All it takes is 3 missiles and the British civilization will collapse. I'm going to pull this up so you guys can watch this real quick. And this is what is being portrayed on Russian propaganda media.
Несложно предположить географию ответа в случае, если короткий пресс-релиз Белого дома станет реальностью. Под угрозой без малого все европейские столицы, если наши ракеты встанут в Калининграде, Берлин, Варшава, все Прибалты, Париж, Бухарест, Прага. Конечно, американские базы в Германии, Гармии-Шпартенкирхен, казармы Патча, Шпангдалем, Рамштайн. Особое внимание Британии, нашему традиционному врагу, так как против нее будет работать значительная часть Северного флота. Под удар Вашингтон ставит не только Лондон, но и Манчестер, Бирмингем, крупнейшую военно-морскую базу.
So, Putin is authorizing for the Russian media to put out propaganda like that. It's my opinion, he's baiting NATO. He's setting them up. We've seen this rhetoric from Russia before. Still, he's setting them up. That, in my mind, that is the only plausible explanation for the events that have transpired. So, what else do we have going on in the world? We're going to move aside from World War III talk right now because you know what? I think tomorrow we're going to be fine. I think January 20th, we're going to be watching the inauguration of Donald Trump. And by the way, I'm going to make this declaration right now. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. on January 20th. I'm going. Who else wants to go with me? Anybody else want to go to Washington, D.C. on January 20th and watch the inauguration of Donald Trump? Let's do a good old-fashioned red pill trip to Washington, D.C., January 20th, 2025, and watch the inauguration of Donald J. Trump. Anybody want to do it? Let me know. Hit me up on Social Red Pill, Substack, Locals. Email me. Let me know. Let's fucking go. I was told by a good friend of mine, don't go to January 6th. I didn't go. Lucky I didn't go. I don't care what people tell me. I'm going January 20th. All right. Interesting enough, Donald Trump has made various different nominations to cabinets. The most, the one the media is focusing on the most is Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. This is the one that they do fear. An unidentified hacker has gained access to a computer file shared in a secure link among the lawyers whose clients have given damaging testimony related to Matt Gaetz, the former Florida congressman who is the President-elect Trump's choice to be Attorney General. This is interesting because there's a House ethics complaint that the Democrats are trying to get released. Now I say, why the hell does the House of Representatives not release the ethics investigation reports and summaries to the public? These are elected officials. Release all of them right now. I don't care if it's Matt Gaetz, if it's a Democrat, Republican, release them all right now. The public deserves to know what's in those House ethic complaints and investigations. All of them, release them. Secondly, going back to this post, did you notice how they talked about it? They said, an unidentified hacker. Wait, they don't even know who the hacker is, has gained access to a computer system through a secure link. What? Something here doesn't sound right to me. This sounds a little fishy, doesn't it? So an unknown person has gained access to a very, very secure and private computer system that is monitored by lawyers. And it's potentially going to release this information pertaining to a 17-year-old girl who apparently has naked images of Matt Gaetz and claims that he had sex with her when she was 17. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. But here's the thing. If somebody had that information on Matt Gaetz, where was it a year ago? Where was it 2 years ago? Where was it during the last congressional election in 2022? Where was it in 2020? Where was it in 2018? That's my problem with these types of things. Where was E. Jean Carroll in 2016 when Donald Trump was running for president? Where was E. Jean Carroll in all these other Trump accusers during the impeachments? Where were they in 2020? See, they only come forth when it's necessary because most of them are lying and full of shit. Because that's how the deep state machine actually works. All right, what else have we got? So, House Oversight Committee released this image today of the shredding company. A commercial document shredding truck has arrived at the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. You gotta love it, right? Why is a commercial document shredding? Look, they go to the DOJ. They have contracts with every branch of the military, but it's more of a joke than anything, right? When I was in the military district, Washington, D.C., we had a shredding company come all the time and grab all different types of documents. But who knows? At least they're not burning them and throwing them out the window like they did in Ukraine. Today, we had a UAP hearing. The director of Aero testified. Now, quite interesting that he testifies in front of the Senate Armed Services hearing. And he comes out and basically says that we've reviewed all of these different cases and they're all bullshit. We've absolutely determined what majority of these are. One of them that he determined what it was the famous Tic Tac UFO study video. You remember the one over the ocean that's going back and forth that Commander Dave Fravor, who is the F-16 pilot, who was literally flying alongside of it at hundreds of miles per hour, who he witnessed this thing moving against gravity, against 125 mile per hour winds. He witnessed this thing moving at velocities faster than his aircraft. He witnessed it making turns that would crush a human being. And this is an expert. No, the director of Aero came out and said, no, that object was going 45 miles per hour and traveling at only an elevation of 15,000 feet. And see, the claims of David Fravor are not true. It was most likely just a drone. So all eyewitness, all sensor data from all the ships, all the various other indications and reports of these drones over the water, all just, nothing, just Chinese drones or something of that nature. It's all bullshit, people. They're gaslighting us about this situation. And they're doing it for a good reason. They don't want you to know the truth of really what's going on this planet. Now, last night on the Daily News Brief, it was a late one. I've been doing them late because I really kind of want to see all the news before I do them. I'm going to start doing them early again in the morning once my schedule changes. I've been doing recordings. Today I recorded actually with Mel K. So I should be on Mel K. Should be releasing that episode in the next few days. That'd be pretty cool. And tomorrow I'll be recording with Patrick Byrne, me and Alpha. But they don't want that information to come out. And if you want to learn kind of maybe my perspective on it in the sense of the occult and what all these things are, I did a whole episode on it last night, a deep dive into it on the Red Pill Daily News Brief, which is, yes, it is subscription. It's like $5 a month. It's on our Substack, it's on our locals, and it's on Social Red Pill. So you can find it all on one of those. If you are looking locals right there, if you're on Rumble, it's really easy. redpillproject.locals.com. Our Substack, really easy. redpillproject.substack.com. And you got to subscribe over there. And then Social Red Pill, we also do crypto masterminds. We do group Zooms, which I've opened up those Zooms for Substack and locals as well. The links are out there. But socialredpill.com. Now, also, guys, I just want to put this out there real quick before I continue with more news. Some I told you so and stuff. I do crypto masterminds on Sundays. And we sometimes get really in depth in the crypto projects and various different things. We give tips and suggestions, what the crypto world's being looking like. All the people who are in my crypto mastermind are watching this show right now, and they're doing very well. Okay. They've been with me for a long time, and they're all doing very, very, very well. If you're interested in learning about crypto or getting into crypto and you don't know where to start, or you're scared or any of these things, let me know. And you can actually go to Social Red Pill. So you go to socialredpill.com and you can find either a subscription. Let me see here, socialredpill.com. You can either find a subscription that has it. So if you're new to Social Red Pill, I recommend going to the website browser and you scroll down here at the bottom, okay? And you got bronze, silver, and gold, and then triple star support. The crypto mastermind is not there because it's an internal group. But if you go with the triple star support right here, it includes the crypto mastermind, which on its own is like $50 a month. So you're getting a heck of a deal right there if you choose that one. So just letting everybody know if you want to. I also do crypto consulting. So if you're looking at just a private one-on-one session to help you get set up, learn about cryptocurrency, let me know. I can give you the details about that. I've been helping people for years on that. And the best place to do that is either Social Red Pill, Substack, locals, message me there, or email me. This is my personal email address right there. redpillprojectonline@gmail.com. Email me and we'll get it set up for you. I'll soon have a text number that you guys can text and stuff like that. All right, let's jump back into this. I've been saying since August timeframe, July timeframe, that the Trump hush money sentencing Donald Trump to jail, poof, just magically going to go away. Remember what I told you happened on September 4th? Remember what I told you? Judge Merchan was presented by Trump's lawyers with a red folder, opened it up, and there was collusion with Judge Merchan, his daughter, the Harris, Biden campaign, money being taken in massive crimes and corruption that would make him recuse himself from the rest of the trial and also face criminal investigation. The next day, Judge Merchan delayed the sentencing of Donald Trump until November 26th. Then, today, then on that same day, by the way, the House Oversight Committee opened an investigation into Judge Merchan's daughter for taking money from the Harris Walz campaign. Then today, Trump sentencing on hush money case indefinitely suspended. Trump's sentencing in the New York hush money case has been indefinitely adjourned as the court reviews whether presidential immunity shields him. Convicted in May of 34 counts of falsifying business records tied to hush money payments to Stormy Daniels, Trump faced up to 4 years in jail. His legal team argues the case should be dismissed under the Supreme Court ruling of presidential protections. It looks like that is the case. As well as yesterday, we find out that the Fani Willis case in Georgia against Donald Trump shelved. What happened to the Florida case with the classified documents? Shelved. Why? Because you can only continue lawfare is if you can continue lawfare. Once you can no longer continue the lawfare under your power, you have to stop it and you have to destroy all the records. You have to cover your ass at this point in time. And they need time to cover their asses. And so all these cases just disappearing away from Donald Trump. Tom Homan is the next border czar that is going to be coming in to the United States of America under the Donald Trump administration. I absolutely love this gentleman. I'm going to reach out to some friends and get him on the show, hopefully. But listen to what he says right here.
Real quickly, what happens to a mayor or a local police department chief that is under Democratic leadership that obstructs ICE in your federal agents that are helping get these deportations? What happens to them?
Well, first of all, if they don't help us get the hell out of the way, we're going to do it. If I got to send twice the amount of resources to that city, that's what we're going to do. If they would give us access to the jail, that would mean less agents in the community. For them pushing back and not letting us in the jail, it just means more agents are going to be in the community, so they're hurting themselves. Finally, I'll say this. They need to educate themselves. They need to review this. Title 8, United States Code 1324, III. Read about that and don't cross that line because it is a felony to harbor and conceal an illegal alien from ICE. Read the statute, don't cross that line.
Boom. In other words, the Trump administration will arrest mayors and governors who stand in their way of deporting illegal immigrants, especially when the emergency declaration is made. They could also use the Insurrection Act of 1809. They could utilize the Aliens and Seditions Act of 1798. They have the law on their side to do what they want to do. But what we'll see, and I think that this is a great possibility, is the 10th Amendment Civil War. I'm going to talk about the 10th Amendment Civil War in a second. But I want you to listen to this clip from the Joe Rogan podcast of this former special operator. And what he has to say is coming for the cartels. Check this out.
I was thinking about this from the thought exercise where I'm like, because I know these units. I'm intimately familiar with them. Bro, if we declare war on the cartel, like these dudes are not going to understand what the fuck is going on.
No,
like,
of course not.
They are going to be, because God,
you'll
God
stop the
distribution.
Guys. That's going to be, yeah.
They are in for a world of like ultra violence they've never actually felt before, because obviously this is a very capable ultra violent organization. They have fucking no clue. If we organize these tier 1 units against them, this is going to be what I would be doing if I was down there. Like, I know all those shoeboxes in my fucking, my walls that I'm going to have to collect up. I'd be getting ready to retire right now. That's what I would be doing. Because if Delta Force is hunting me, bro, I would be so terrified.
Is that a real thing that they've proposed doing?
Yes, that is a real thing.
Who proposed that?
I'm almost positive either JD or Trump had said something with the new guy from ICE, like we're going to mobilize tier 1 units against the cartel. The only thing I thought was like, retire. If you guys got some money, man, I would like put that away. Yeah. Like maybe move Jamaica.
Open
I don't know,
a
go
restaurant.
somewhere. Yeah, buy a restaurant. Like,
Buy a
try to go
restaurant.
legit. Because,
go legit.
Dude, if those guys are hunting you,
yeah.
By the way, like, you're done. You're fucking done.
And it's a weird thing that's going on right at our border.
So
it's a weird
strange.
thing because it's so close to us, and it's
from a tier 1 operator telling you, if you are a cartel member, retire. Because you do not want Delta Force hunting you. And he's absolutely right. You don't want Delta Force hunting you. And that's what we have to look forward to in 2025. Imagine that. Donald Trump declares an insurrection by foreign actors into our country from Mexico at the U.S. border. He's going to reach out to Mexico and he's going to say, you have 3 days to come and get all of these fucking people, take them back to your country, and stop every single border crossing at the border to clean up the cartels in your cities and eliminate them fully. Or we're going to do it for you. Then the Mexican president's going to say, but Donald Trump, you can't have military members of the U.S. inside Mexico. That's an act of war. He's going to go, then we're fucking at war. That's exactly what's going to happen and how that conversation will go. Because it's going to happen. And I'll tell you, it is going to be an epic day when it does. When the last cartel is eradicated from South America, from Mexico. Just imagine how Mexico is going to thrive once the grip of the cartels is eliminated, thanks to Donald Trump. We'll actually have an ally, a border nation, that has the opportunity to be an amazing country. All right. Elon Musk today said, after Mars, this is what Elon Musk said, after Mars, we'll start going to other star systems. Obviously, we want to preserve the tiny light of consciousness on Earth, but extend it to Mars and then ultimately to the rest of the solar system, and then start going to other star systems. Guys, we know what kind of technology they have. We know about the secret space program. It is my hopes and my dreams that that comes out within the next few years. That all of that floods out and people like Elon Musk start developing warp drives, hyperspace engines to take us to Alpha Centauri. $250, get your trip to Alpha Centauri, 4-hour journey. It'd be amazing, truly amazing. The Dilly Meme team strikes again with introducing the mentally retarded. Let's take a look at it. Let's watch it.
Usually, the mentally retarded are divided into classifications: the educable, the trainable, and the custodial. Obviously, we can only assess the abilities or potential of the mentally retarded on an individual basis. Seemingly random motions and movements are fairly common among the custodial retarded, and they may take many forms. Sometimes there are motions which seem to have no meaning whatever and may even cause unintentional self-inflicted injuries. The vast majority of the mentally retarded are intelligent enough that they can be taught a great many things. However, there's a wide range of ability even among those considered educable. And their ability to learn obviously varies according to their level of intelligence. Equally important is a stimulating environment. However, we must remember to set realistic standards that are not too high for the individual. Many of the trainable retarded can learn to take certain kinds of household responsibilities, some of which may be more complex than they are usually given credit for. It would be wrong to expect a mentally retarded person to become a master craftsman. The standards are too high. But even in the skilled trades, for example, the mentally retarded can be trained to become valuable assistants. Who are the mentally retarded? They are people. They come in both sexes and in all sizes, shapes, creeds, and colors. Wherever people live, there also live the mentally retarded.
Shout out to the Dilly Meme team. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Guys, much love, respect. God bless you. Take care. Have a great night. If you want to support us in any way, shape, or form, do that at redpills.tv, redpills.tv. Don't forget to head on over to our Substack, redpillproject.substack.com. If you guys are shopping at MyPillow, they do have Black Friday deals going on. MyPillow.com. Use that promo code RPP. As well, don't forget about Good Brew, goodbrew.com/redpill. And then our immune modulating mushrooms, one topic that I didn't cover tonight, but we'll definitely be covering Thursday on our Maha night. Maha night, Make America Healthy Again, is Thursday nights. If you didn't know, redpills.tv/mushroom. And so visit us, help us, support us in any way, shape, or form that you can do that. Even if that's just a like where you're watching right now, or a share, or a comment, we appreciate it all. You guys are absolutely amazing, amazing. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Good night.
Spoon. That's impossible. Only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.